Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video about my study tips, revision techniques, and I'm going to tell you guys what I got for my GCSE results which I received last year and my AS results which I received last week. If you guys want to know, then carry on watching. I'm going to start off with my results. I'm going to start from GCSE, talk about that a little bit, then move on to AS levels and A levels and finish off with the revision techniques. I'll put times where I talk about each of the things separately if you're only looking to see about my GCSEs or my A levels in the down bar if you just want to watch that part of the video, because I don't want to waste your time if you don't want to watch it all. So yeah, just make sure to check that if you only want to see a little bit of the video. Starting off with GCSE, these were the compulsory subjects I had to take: English literature, English language, maths, and I took triple science, so I done biology, physics and chemistry, which meant I had to take 3 exams for each subject, so I ended up having to do 9 science exams, which is crazy. It was also compulsory to do RE and ICT, but I ended up dropping out of ICT because I thought it was a load of shit. It was just not me. Like, obviously I get on with computers, but the things they were teaching us were just so unnecessary and I didn't need them in my life, or I already knew what I was doing, so I just thought it was pointless, and it was only half a GCSE, so I just completely dropped that out. And there was like no ICT teachers and I kept having to be changed around. It was just a mess, so I completely dropped out of that. But I did do RE as a half course. Yeah, and then my 4 options were history, French, dance and drama. I'm going to just tell you my results straight away and then I'll tell you about my feelings towards them, etc. Dance I got an A star, drama I got an A, history I got an A, French I got an A, maths I got an A, biology I got an A, physics I got an A, chemistry I got an A, and both of my Englishes I got a B. Oh, and RE I got an A. In no way am I bragging or am I being ungrateful, but on the day, not that it matters now, but on the day I was distraught. Basically it was the English that let me down. Throughout the whole year I'd been getting A stars, sometimes A's, so I was really disappointed to get that, because English was my sort of thing that I really wanted to do well in. I love English, I love writing, hence why I started my blog. So I was really disappointed to get B's, but they're not that bad. It's just my personal goal. I'm not hating on anyone who gets a B. It was just my own target that I wanted to reach and I didn't reach it, so obviously I'm going to be upset, just as if you got a D and wanted to pass and get a C. It's literally the same thing. Altogether I got 1 A star, 8 A's and 2 B's. But yeah, they're my results. I did a lot of revision, to be fair, for my GCSEs. I am quite academic, but I'm also quite creative. That's why I chose the mix of history and French and then dance and drama, because I still wanted to have an academic side to my choices as well as a creative, which is exactly what I done with my A levels, which I'll tell you in a minute. So after that I got into my 6th form, because you needed 5 C's and above and preferably a B in the subject you wanted to take. I went on to my 6th form at the same school, and I chose to do English literature because I love reading, I love analysing text, I love poetry, I love plays, etc. So I really wanted to take English lit, and I also want to take biology because I love science and biology is my favourite science. And then alongside that I took dance and drama, which are my more creative side, and obviously, as you've probably seen before, I wanted to go into theatre and art studies sort of thing at uni, so I'm not really sure that's why I did take them, but who knows, it could be a mistake for whatever I want to take now. My career path is a bit muddled at the minute. I have literally no idea what I want to do. So yeah, honestly, biology was definitely the hardest out of all of them. The jump is ridiculous. I can't even stress to you. I was like, come on, it can't be that much harder. I don't know where I am at my GCSEs. I'm going to be fine at A levels. It's not the case. I know you probably see this all over everywhere, which I did when I was in GCSEs, and I was so naive. I was like, it can't be that much harder, but it is. It's insane. So if you don't think you have a good work ethic or you're not passionate for your subject, do not take it. Do not take A levels. Probably find a different choice if you're not going to put the work in. It's very hard and time consuming, so you've got to work hard to get the grades, basically. Yeah, I had a bit of a struggle and stress fitting in my blogging with AS levels, but I'll do that as a separate video if you guys want to see that and how I organise myself and everything. But other than that, it was definitely a struggle. Biology was by far the hardest. It had an insane amount of content. I took triple for biology, chemistry and physics, and it's literally that and more in just the AS content of biology. And now this year I'm going to stay on and do biology because I absolutely love learning it. I love learning science, I love revising science. I think it's the easiest to revise, but it's got even more content. It's mental. if you're wanting to study a science, just know that it is a lot of work, well, especially biology, and you have to be quite good at maths as well, because I think 10% or 20% of my biology grade is maths based, so yeah, just be aware of that. And I think it's like that for the other sciences. Definitely physics, you need a lot of maths, probably like 40% of your whole grade, I think, because there's so many formulas. And for chemistry, it's not as much, similar to biology, I think. But anyway, for my AS, I'm going to tell you my results for my AS levels. So I got a B in English literature, which I was not expecting, because I had 2 teachers for English lit, and I was not happy because in one lesson I was getting D's and one lesson I was getting B's, so I had no idea what I was going to get, and I kept getting mixed opinions, and I was just so confused and so like tired of and exhausted of being told the same thing. English was just a stressful time, which made me put off English literature completely, although I love to write still. But I have my blog, so I guess that's my way of writing still if I do drop that. But honestly, at the minute I have no idea what I'm going to drop. But I was so happy to get a B in English lit, because I thought I could be on a B, C, D, I could literally be anything, because I don't have a reliable source of what I'm on, and English is obviously subjective. It's all like dependent on the examiner, because it's interpretive. And by the way, at AS level you can't get A stars, but at A level you can, so the highest you can get is an A. So yeah, I got a B in English lit, a B in drama, which I'm okay at. I wish I could have worked more on my coursework to get it to an A, so then I had more of a chance to get a higher grade, but oh well. And I got a C in biology, which I'm ecstatic about. You probably don't think that's good at all, but seeing how much content there is and how much I was able to retain in the exam is crazy, and I'm more than happy to get a C in that. And then in dance, this is the one that I was shocked about and was not okay with. I got a C in dance. I got an A in the practical side, but it's literally 50-50 the grade. In the practical side I got an A, fine. In the theory everyone got U's, which are ungraded. There's been loads of checks currently right now to see what's wrong with the grades, because I'm not big-headed at all, but like dance is my thing, like the thing that I wasn't worried about, the thing I thought I was going to get an A in or even a B, but I got a C overall, which I'm very unhappy about, and it's not okay. But yeah, there's been loads of checks on it, because obviously our whole class did bad, but my teachers are amazing, so I'm really confused of what's gone wrong, and I haven't got below an A throughout the whole year when we've been doing tests and mock exams, so I was so disappointed when I saw that grade. But that was my only mishap out of the whole results. Other than that, I'm relatively happy with what I got, and I'm looking forward to next year and hopefully get better grades, hopefully a couple of A's or one A, I don't know, I just want good grades. I'm very competitive with myself. Obviously everyone's going to compare themselves, but you've got to try not to. You've got to try and just compare your results to yourself, what you think you're capable of, and work to what you think is a reasonable target. For A levels, I literally have no idea what I'm going to take, but I'll let you guys know when I do. Oh yeah, I also forgot to say, I did mention that AS levels are ridiculously harder than GCSEs, but if I'm honest, I worked loads for my GCSEs, like ridiculous amounts for my GCSEs leading up to them, and then I obviously got good grades, well, for me anyway, but then I literally worked about 3 times harder for my A levels and got less, so that kind of proves how much time and effort you have to put in when you're trying to do your A levels or want to get a good grade. I want to get into a good uni, that's the only reason I want higher grades. You don't need to get all A's and B's to get into uni, you can literally get anything. There's different requirements for different unis, there's C's and D's, it's absolutely fine, it's just what I want, to be honest. Moving on to my revision tips. The first tip, get rid of this. I am very guilty of keeping it, like to look up stuff, but just have your laptop or no technology at all and just use textbooks, because this is the biggest distraction. You'll think, oh, I'm going to just have a quick look at Twitter, and you'll be scrolling and scrolling. Honestly, get rid of it. During the lead up to my exams, I literally got someone in my family to just hide this, so I had no idea where it was, couldn't use it, and had nothing to do but revise my exams, which is probably the best thing you can do. I know it'll be hard for some people, but for others it might not, but for me it was, so get rid of this. My next tip is print off a timetable. There are thousands of websites you can go on to create a timetable, or simply make one yourself on Word or Publisher. I will link some websites in the down bar if you're struggling to find one, but that's what I always do. I always make a timetable before my exams come up. I usually make that in January, and then from January I start hardcore revising. For me personally, I sort out the hours depending on what subject needs more work, more time on. Obviously biology I struggled with because there's so much content, so I gave biology priority and gave it more hours during my free time, whereas English literature I didn't need as much because it was just reading and recapping on the books, the plot, the characters, etc. and the themes. Drama, which was good, did not have an exam for AS, but it does next year, so I didn't need to revise for that. I only needed to learn my lines for my exam. So yeah, drama freed up a lot of my time for my other subject which needed more work on, so my biology, dance theory and my English literature exams. I had 2 biology exams, 2 English lit and 1 dance theory exam, so I only had 5 this year, which was much better than my, I think it was 22 that I had last year. It was crazy. Although I'm guilty of not doing it all the time, I always try to make myself have a 15-minute break after an hour of working. Instead of like doing a massive chunk like 5 hours, you need to constantly have breaks, and I learnt that from obviously my own mistakes. I would do 5 hours or 3 hours at a time and then just like be exhausted, completely exhausted, like flat out lie on my bed, just fall asleep instantly. And obviously that's not a good thing. I also didn't drink enough water, so I always used to feel like woozy and dehydrated. So make sure to grab refreshments either while you're working or the time you're working, because it's very important to stay hydrated, otherwise your brain's not going to function properly and there's just no point because you're not going to retain any information. Okay, this is a tip for GCSE 100%. If you're taking science or struggle with science, which I used to absolutely hate in the lower school, and then I found my love for it like during GCSEs, and I don't really know why because it was quite a struggle learning content for 9 exams. But you need to get revision books for your specific exam board. Ask your teachers, ask anyone who will know, or look online and just get them, especially if you have photographic memory. I have photographic memory and literally I can still think of like images that I can see on the certain side of pages, like the position of it and what was written next to it. Like my mind just works like that. I don't really know why. So if you're similar to me and like photos and images as well as writing, then definitely pick up like a science book like that, or for another subject you're struggling with like history maybe, or something else. That is what made me retain everything for science, because I worked so hard at memorising the pages. It just sank into my brain, and literally from today I can still remember some GCSE content. It completely helped me with my A-levels as well, because I just think of information and I picture the image and then it all comes back to me. It's really good. And so if you have a similar memory to me, then definitely pick up revision guides. And they have loads of questions, loads of examination questions, exactly like ones that you're going to get in your real exam, so you have lots of practice. Maybe set yourself a target, like tonight I'm going to do all questions on this topic, do them, and then like a couple of weeks later do the same questions, see if you remembered them all or got more than you did last time, and get someone else to mark it or check it afterwards and see if you're improving, because if you're improving then you know that your revision's working, and if not then you need to change your revision technique. But make sure you do this in advance and not too close to your exam, otherwise you will be screwed. Also, if you have a photographic memory, I recommend watching videos, whether this be Mr. Bruff for English, which I did throughout my GCSEs a little bit, like on some poetry that I was struggling with. There are lots of videos for science concepts if you're looking for that. There's lots of maths videos on YouTube. YouTube has it all. There's literally so many. Or if you're part of the student room, loads of people usually upload videos onto there. If you're struggling with certain concepts, just type in the search bar what you're looking for and it will go through everything in depth. This is also very good obviously if you have a photographic memory or you work well with audio, because you'll be able to remember things that people say, remember specific words, relate keywords to pictures, which I do, and then that works the same way. And also you're having like a second teacher who's also an expert. If they're obviously knowledgeable and reliable, then they'll have expert advice or expert knowledge on the subject that you're looking at, so still be retaining information from an expert at home as well as when you're at school. One thing that I've specifically done at my A-levels, but I wish I did at my GCSEs, so if you're doing your GCSEs this year, then listen to this. I make flashcards and everyone's like, ugh, because it does take a long time. For example, there's like literally 100 flashcards here for the whole of the biology content. I think it's 150 or something. And I went through topic by topic and wrote every piece of information I needed to know on them, using colours to highlight keywords or key concepts. On here I draw little photos, diagrams if I needed to, any key information. And one thing people struggle with is how much information, or how do you know what to write on the card. 100% I wish I did this at GCSE, because I would have been able to do so much better, print the specification off from your exam board, go on their website, type in GCSE physics specification, Edexcel or AQA or whatever exam board you're on, and click on it and then print it out, because it's the best decision I've ever made, because then it literally says what you have to know and it gives you keywords of what you have to know within that topic, and then you can literally just cram it onto one little piece of card. Like, this is microscopes, it has everything I need to know on here about microscopes, and then I know everything I need to know and don't have to write unnecessary information from a textbook on there that you won't even need to know and that you'll memorise for no reason. So yeah, that is definitely something else I'd recommend. Another one of my top tips would be to make sure that you do your schoolwork as soon as you get home. If you're doing revision on a school day, come home, maybe have a little snack if you're hungry, and then get straight into your work. I know this may sound stupid, or you may be exhausted from school, which I'm very guilty of as well. I usually just come in and like fly onto my bed and just want to sleep there for ages, because sixth form is seriously exhausting, and I usually go to bed at like 8 o'clock now, which is ridiculous. But just make sure you do your schoolwork as soon as you get back home, because your head is still like working, it's still functioning, it's in school mode, even though you may not think so. So either stay at school for an hour or whatever if you want to do a revision session with a teacher, want to speak to a teacher. Don't be scared to talk to them, they're going to want to help you, they're going to want to help you get a good grade. If not, I work better at home in a silent environment, so I prefer to come home or go to somewhere quiet and relax and revise in silence. I usually work for about 3 hours on a daily basis after school, and then more hours on the weekend when I'm obviously not at school. Because if you wait and keep going, oh, I'll do it later, it'll get to like 7 o'clock and you'll be like, oh, I just want to sit down and relax and watch a film or whatever. But if you just get it all done out the way, then you can have the rest of the evening to yourself. You'll feel so much more better, so much more productive, and your brain's going to be able to retain the information because you're not going to be completely exhausted. I'd also recommend to get some plastic wallets. They're not expensive at all. I think they're like 20p. I got given this from my dance teacher. She's absolutely incredible at revision, and she always helps teach the content fast, but so it sticks into our heads. And then we make loads of revision material to help us remember, constantly making posters with photos on, little bits of information. She always used coloured card, which is obviously good for me because I remember like photographic things, so the colour will stick with the keywords, etc. So yeah, that works well for me. Also, folders are handy because they keep everything in one place, you don't end up losing everything. So folders are a necessity for A-level or GCSE revision if your subject holds a lot of content. If you're taking English like me, or you have to take English for GCSE, definitely pick up one of these sticky notes memo sets, or just anything with sticky notes in. Oh god, everything's flying everywhere. But yeah, these have tons of sticky notes, different sizes. In English, I always used to stick these little notes on pages where I needed to remember key quotes. English A-level, you have to remember key quotes as you do in GCSE. However, in A-level, you sometimes are not allowed to take the book into the exam, so you just have to remember quotes. Therefore, these are good to help me remember page numbers, or just remember where quotes are, so I can keep looking, keep reading them, keep memorising them. However, these medium-sized ones are good if you want to condense information in textbooks. Stick this over a massive paragraph that rambles on and just write the relevant information from that paragraph on there. And then obviously the bigger ones are good for if you're making posters or want to put these around the house. Like when I learnt French in GCSE, I used to, for my oral exams, I write my oral thing or the oral question there and like put it on the bathroom door when I'm having a poo, or put it on the ceiling when I'm just before I go to bed and just answer the question out loud in French. If you're taking a language, that's good, or if you're taking, again, a subject with a lot of content, the big post-it notes are good. So post-it notes are also essential for revision if you like working that way. An obvious one is to print past papers off. I'm sure your school will have them, a lot of your teachers will have them. Ask for past papers because you're going to be getting the best questions possible because they're from real exams, and chances are in GCSE loads of the questions pop up again and again, very frequent questions. I remember this question that came up every year and I was thinking, oh, it's never going to come from my paper, and it came up. So these are very handy for accurate questions of what you're actually going to get in your actual exam. These little notepad things are also good because they're colourful again, but you can write little notes, little memos. I used to stick little paper things by the side of my bed on things that I didn't remember during my revision sessions so that I knew I could go back to it and revise that again. Make sure to note down anything you're struggling with so that you can always go back, and don't forget to go back so you're not panicking at the last minute. And then with English, I'd recommend going through your book and underlining the key quotes or anything relevant in pencil, so then when you go back later you can type it up. I underlined everything in these books that I studied this year, the Test of the D'Urbervilles and the Great Gatsby, if you're wondering. You probably shouldn't be, but this book is awful. So yeah, and then I wrote down all of the relevant quotes that I'd underlined on a sheet of paper, printed that out, and then just memorised and memorised and memorised, because I wasn't allowed, wait, was I allowed these books? Oh yeah, I was allowed these books in the exam, sorry, but in some of the other ones I weren't, so that was a stressful time, especially the poetry book when I had to learn like 14 poems off by heart. That's everything I have for now. I've probably forgotten loads of things, and if I do, then I'll make a part 2 if you guys would like that. Let me know if you've got any revision tips to help me for my A-levels next year. I'll see you guys in my next video. Click the like button if you enjoyed this type of video and would like to see more tips on my school stuff and whatever. See you in my next video. Bye!